Hello and welcome to metallics.co.nz. My name is Alex Telford, and in this tutorial we are going to be looking at texture painting in Blender. Now, more specifically, we're going to be looking at how to texture this little crate. I was a little bored in class today, so I decided I'd make a crate, and yeah, this was the result of me stacking a whole bunch of cubes together and probably wasting about 20 minutes, but hey, why not? You guys can have a free crate in the end. So yeah, what it is it's just 6 of these little panels that have been linked duplicates. The reason for that is we only need to texture one side, then the rest of them we can come in and tweak to our liking. Alright, so starting off we need to split our window, bring up our UV image editor, and by the way, before you start texture painting, I'm going to say one thing, actually a couple of things. Firstly, I would suggest you get a graphics tablet. I used to texture without a tablet and I hated texturing. I thought it was just because I sucked, which I actually did suck, but yeah, I didn't really see the point in graphics tablets. Then I got one, and honestly, they speed up your workflow so much. It was worth the how much this cost me? I don't know, about 270 I think I spent for a that's New Zealand dollars, not US, for a Intuos 4. Definitely worth it. I would suggest getting at least like a bamboo tablet or something for Blender. They're really cheap and really good. So yeah, I will actually be showing you at some point a new netbook that I've purchased. It's the most awesomest netbook ever that you can get for Blender, mainly because of its Wacom screen and the fact that it was like it cost spare change. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about that when I can figure out how to use a video camera. Anyway, moving on. What I'm going to do is UV unwrap this cube. We're going to start doing some texturing, baking some ambient occlusion, all that lovely stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Tab into edit mode. Use Smart UV Project. Because we're texture painting in Blender and not Photoshop, we don't really need to care about the UVs. These UV like that is actually perfectly fine. Yeah, you're not really going to need to have them any more than that. So let's create a new one. Let's change that to a 2048 texture. Call this one here AO for ambient occlusion. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over to bake in the render settings and bake out an ambient occlusion map. Make sure you check normalize. Normalize just means that our material settings won't affect the UV map. Which is fantastic. You really want to have that checked. I'm yet to find a case where I don't want normalized checked when baking UV maps. So yeah, just give this a second. This will bake out, and there we go. One thing you're going to notice with your UV maps is this fuzz or this noise around our UV maps. This won't be a problem for our grungy texture that we're about to paint, but it might be in some of your other cases. So a quick tip to get rid of that is bring this into Photoshop. I'm not sure if GIMP has the same feature, but it might do. What you want to do is check use a smart blur, not a Gaussian blur, a smart blur, and what that will do is blur up all of this stuff, all this white, fuzzy, whatnot, and it will keep these sharp, crisp lines. It's a really great tool. I would show you, but I'm sure you guys know how to find the blur menu in Photoshop and click Smart Blur. Alright, so there we go. What I'm going to do is go over to Shading, GLSL, Texture Solid. If you can't see that option, then obviously you're in Cycles Render and you need to change over to Blender Render. Whew. Yes, really going through this tutorial at quite a pace, aren't I? I should probably slow down. So yeah, that is the preview that we've got at the moment. So let's come in, we'll add in a new material. Let's call this one here, Crate. Specular, change that down to something like that. Bring the hardness down to roughly about there. That just helps for our, when we're texturing, just have a little bit of specularity, but not over the top. Alright, so let's create a new texture, image or movie, select our AO. This is going to be set to UV, and we're going to select the UV map. Also, let's go and set this to multiply. Very important to use multiply or add or darken or overlay, those sort of ones. Don't use mix. Mixes together textures, of course. It's when you're texture painting, it seems to cause a few little issues with the viewport and whatever. So yeah, it's better to stick to multiply or overlay or something, or whatever that texture is actually doing. If you're new to texture painting and you want to mix them, I'd probably suggest you try and actually split up your layers a little more. Like you might want to have a grunge that's multiplied, you might want to have a highlight layer which is added onto it. If you paint them all onto the same layer and only have one layer, then it gets a little bit messy. So yeah, try and split them all up into as many layers as you can, and yeah, that will work a lot better for you. Alright, so that's this one here. We're going to call this one here AO. Come over into textured viewport, and of course everything goes black because we have no lights. Let's go Shift A, add in a lamp, a hemi lamp. Doesn't matter where you put these, by the way. The light's the same, it's only the rotation that matters. Alright, now that we've got this, we want to add in a new texture. This one here is going to be image or movie. We're going to be using Wood Rough 01062L. Or if you don't have a CG Textures subscription, it'll be to S, which will be the small one. So yeah, plenty of textures on CG Textures. I've got screeds of textures from all over the internet. I think I'm up to like maybe 80 gig of textures now. Won't be long till I'm over 100 gig. But yeah, definitely collect as many textures as you can. There's also a website that you should go to. Is texturemate.com. I found that today. If my internet's currently down, so I don't think I can show you. No, it's not going to load. Anyways, that site has some great textures which you can use as well. But yeah, CG Textures subscription, definitely buy one. Alright, so I set this to UV. Notice that they are all going the wrong way, and they're kind of the wrong size. If we come into edit mode and we scale this up, you'll notice that actually you won't notice at the moment, but it will actually make our empty inclusion layers off. So what we need to do is jump into our vertex panel, our object data panel, and add in a new UV map. So we'll call this one here default, and we'll call this one here wood, and that just splits them up a little. So we can come into edit mode with this one, rotate by 90 and scale that up a bit, something like that, and there we go. So if I just come down, set that to multiply instead of mix, see the problem that we're having there, see add, multiply, that kind of stuff. It's gonna, let's see, change that to wood. That is interesting. I'm unsure why it is causing this to go black. Maybe this is, there we go, UV map. What do we go there? Let's change that to default. kind of threw me off for a bit. So yeah, set that to multiply. Make sure your UV maps are all correct. And what you'll find now is if we come back over here, make sure we've got the wood one selected, so we can actually adjust the size of our wood without affecting our ambient occlusion layer. So a bigger wood grain, well, if you scale it up so you get lots of fine wood grain in there, that will imply that this is a bigger crate. But if you scale it right down, something like that maybe, it implies it is a a much smaller crate. So find a balance that fits you. You can also squish and stretch them, whatever. Something like that. Yeah, this is going to be fine for me right now. Okay, so now that we have those base textures done, or almost done, we also need to, on our wood texture, give it a best quality bump mapping set to like a 0.025 or something, and that'll just give us a bit of fine bump. 0.05 maybe, yeah, there we go. Alright, so yeah, that is our base texture done, so we can begin texture painting. The way we do this is we remove that texture over there, go new, let's give it a 2048 texture and make it white. Very important you make it white to start with. If you're multiplying, start with white. If you're using a screen layer, start with black. And I'm going to be calling this one here, let's call it grunge. We'll start with a grunge layer. Oh, gone. Cool, grunge. And let's add it in here. Image of movie, let's call it grunge. And select that grunge layer. Change it over to UV. Select our default UV layer. Very important you select the right UV layer. If you leave it at blank, it will select whichever one you got selected over here. And change it to multiply. Now is a fantastic time to go File, Save As, and let's save it as, let's go Create Tutorial, because it's great for the tutorial. Cool. I'm just going to grab a drink of water. Great. Now we can start going into our texture paint. But before we do that, very important, because we're using an instant mesh here, what you'll need to do is go Shift H and hide all the other ones. The reason is that it will try and paint over all of them. It will try and paint over all of these ones at once. It looks horrible, and then it kind of stuffs up and doesn't work from then on. As I found out the past 2 times trying to record this tutorial and showing it as an example. So yeah, let's start. Let's go over to texture paint, which will allow us to start painting. As you can see, it does give us a much better preview when we're texture painting, primarily because when we're in the viewport we don't need to see high quality textures or so much, but when we're in texture paint we do. Alright, now we get given a few options down here in this texture paint layers palette. Now this easily allows us to switch between our different layers, so we can paint on different layers here. We can turn them off and on as we need. We can also adjust the normal factors and whatever on this. I think that was set to 0.05, and we can add in different ones here. So you can see we can add in an alpha mask, we can add in color bump, and what that will do is, say if I go add in a new alpha mask, you'll notice that it will add in a new texture, and you come along and select your default texture, and it will set it to be an alpha. So we can effectively paint in our transparency or whatever. Not really going to show here because I don't have transparency turned on. I haven't actually played with this one yet. So yeah, oh wait, transparency is turned on. Where are we? Object panel, check transparency. Yeah, it's not going to do it. Oh well. Yeah, have a play with that. Obviously I haven't set this up to be a transparent thing. Let's remove that transparency. Oh, actually that's what it is. Alpha is 0. That's what we needed. Or not, maybe. Ah, it's disappeared. Okay, I don't know what I've done now. I think I just painted on the wrong layer. See if I can get this working. What have we got? Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. So, yeah, I have no idea what it's doing now, but you kind of get the point that it will paint in your alpha channel. Yeah, bad example. Alright, let's bring it up to 1, uncheck that. Come on, let's remove that thing. We don't want that, we just want a grunge layer. Alright, so grunge. We can paint grunge on this quite easily by just painting over things. But you'll notice that it's not working straight off the bat. Now this is something that took me a little while to figure out. I actually had to pause and check my notes, because it kind of throws you off a little. When you're using multiple texture, multiple UV maps, if we select like the wood one here, you notice that it has trouble painting because it's painting based on our wood UV. We select the default one, what do you know, we can paint perfectly fine. And you notice it pops up over there. Speed things up a little, we will actually close that other window. Pop. So yeah, bear that in mind. Make sure you have default UV maps selected when you come into paint. So yeah, kind of helps things along a little. Alright, so let's come in and let's go through a few of the tools we have over on the left. So of course we have some similar tools that we have in our sculpting, or not so much sculpting, but we've got a similar layout as we have as sculpting. The one we'll mostly be using is text draw. It's the standard one, or brush draws, they're about the same. Clone is quite handy. I'm not going to go into how to use clone in this tutorial, but it effectively is like a clone stamp tool from Photoshop. Smear and soften, have a play with those if you need to smear and soften things. I only ever tend to use text draw, occasionally maybe the clone, but when I need to clone something. But yeah, text draw is the main one that I use just for painting. Alright, you'll be familiar with this. Here we have a colour, very handy to come in here with the hue, saturation and value. Just give it whatever you want, and just come in and paint on it. As you can see, we've got the set to multiply, so it's not going to be the exact colour that we bring out here, but it's close enough. Alright, a few things we've got here. Radius and strength. Those are fairly self-explanatory. Radius controls the radius of our brush. which we control with the left and right brackets. You can also set it up with if you've got a Wacom tablet, you can set it up for the little scroll wheel thingy. But yeah, using these is quite fine. And if you try and use shift and the brackets, they don't adjust the strength like they do in Photoshop. You do have to come over here. There is a button, I just can't remember what it is. Alright, the little finger pressing the little blue thing, whatever it is, that allows your pressure sensitivity on the tablet. So as you can see, if I press soft, it's a very small stroke. If I press hard, it's a big one. Very handy, as I say, if you have a tablet. Jitter, I won't go into that. Your blend mode, you can set this to adjust your blending mode as you're painting. Alpha, that one there is fairly self-explanatory. You're not really going to see it here. But yeah, I just leave it on. Texture is very important if you want to set up a texture. Say for example, if I wanted a Photoshop brush, I would create a new texture. I would call this brush. And what I do over here is I create a new texture. Actually, I don't create a new texture, I've just created it. I select, let's just get rid of this one. Alright, so I select my brush, I go image or movie, make sure I uncheck it here so it's not affecting our actual image. And I'm just going to open up one of my brushes. And I've actually converted all my ABR brushes into a very nice folder full of actually about half of them, I think, about half my brushes. So yeah, this is a whole bunch of actual PNG images. Let's use one of my anime eyes. I made these a while ago. They were actually quite popular. I really didn't think they would be. Alright, so if I scroll this up, we can just go fix texture and just go and yeah, we can paint some scary eyes all over it. So yeah, kind of something like that anyways. And then you can just leave your brush there and you can just come in here and change the source to something else. So if I wanted this one here, and you can see we can paint with our Photoshop brushes. And that is fantastic. And just to remove this, just click the little X button. Right, fix texture, that fixes the texture. So the texture doesn't move, it's relative to your viewport. It's not relative to your object, is a very common misconception. If we go click a new one and we create a clouds, okay, this isn't going to be good colour, let's just go black. Actually maybe red was a good colour, yeah. So you can see we get something like this, and then we can start painting over it and it changes the pattern. Whereas if we go fix texture, okay, this is really subtle with this particular example. It's probably better I use like a white plane or something to paint on, but effectively we can paint over this as much as we want and the texture is not going to move. Let's undo that now. So yeah, but if we move the viewport, then yes, the texture will move. It's relative to our viewport, not to our actual object. Okay, so stroke. Let's come down here, let's go airbrush, move this down, and if we click and we hold, it will keep going more and more, like an actual airbrush. If you see what I mean. Alright, spacing between each brush stroke. If you want to paint dots, then yes, spacing, turn it up. Turn it down if you want quite a thick one. Remember, if we're at 1, it's going to be very slow. It will slow down our computer quite a bit. So 10 is actually a very reasonable number. Moving down, if you have missed through one of these, if I'm going too fast, rewind. There's a lot to cover here, and I don't want this to go on for like more than an hour, because we are just doing kind of like an intro to this whole texture painting thing. Okay, so curve. Curve is a fall off of our brush, so if we set that to the square one, we actually get a solid brush. Yeah, something like that. Set that to a nice soft one. One of those. You can do what you like with it. You can actually even just go something like that. And as you can see, we get these little ring effects. Great. So yeah, that's the curve. Have fun with that. Appearance. I haven't actually used appearance yet. I'm pretty sure it just colours the little icon thingy that you move around. Yeah, it does. What do you know? Alright, so on a white one. I suppose that's useful if you have a if you want, you know, maybe a custom thing, yeah, custom icon, or if you want to if you're painting on something white and you can't see your brush. Okay, project paint. This is a fantastic one. Stencil, I'm going to turn that off because I don't have a stencil, but you can actually use stencils. So yeah, default wood, different UV layouts, things like that. And I think this is the preview button, if I'm correct. No, that's the invert button. So yeah, you've got clone one there as well. I don't have a clone set up, but you can do that. Normal one is very interesting. If we paint from an angle, you'll notice we get these little odd things popping up. So we can't paint properly. And this seems odd. Yeah, it's kind of odd like that. Let's go uncheck normal. And hey, look, we can paint the whole thing. Fantastic. Yeah, so that's how our normal works. You can change the angle there. I usually leave it turned off. I don't really need to use it. I suppose it has its uses. Now colour, you can turn that on and off. That is up to you. That is, yeah, does about the same thing. I think it's got a little description here. Ignore faces pointing away from the view. Yeah. So leave it turned on, and apparently it's faster. Yeah. Turn it off, that's right. If your normals aren't correct. So, yeah, see, we can't paint on this side. But, turn that off. Now we can. Yes, I did actually forget what that one did. Right, so yeah, that one there off. Occlude, that one allows you to paint through. So if we turn that off, and we can paint through the entire thing, we don't get that line. So if I come down here, paint straight down, it will paint straight down. Be careful with this one. If you leave it off when you don't want it, then you'll notice that you'll end up painting like the opposite side of your mesh, and you'll end up with a whole bunch of problems. Bleed, leave it at 2. Yeah, I just need to say that, leave it at 2. Don't touch the bleed, unless you really have to. What bleed does is it's kind of like what Murray does. If you've used Murray, I use Murray for a lot of my texturing work because it is fantastic. It also costs a hell of a lot of money, but it is a really good program for texturing. But yeah, basically what this does is it extends your texture outside of your UV map. So it'll extend it out like 2 pixels outside of that UV boundary, or the the boundary of your actual UVs, not the UV square. So yeah, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, leave it at 2. Yeah, you can also Google it up. Yeah, what Murray actually does is Murray extends it all the way out to the next one, so it'll like blend together all of the different colours in between the UVs, and that way you never actually get any of that like black stuff showing or white stuff showing from the borders of the UVs. So that's like Blender's way of doing that. 2 pixels I found actually works fine. Set it too high, you get problems. Set it too low, you get all those white strokes and stuff. Let's turn it low. Let's see if we can get it to show. So I don't actually know where the UVs are on this. But yeah, let's paint over this a bit. And yeah, so it's not going to show it like that, but if we bring this up to 8 and text a little bit, there you go, this is what I mean. You get these streaks appearing all over your mesh. So yeah, that's bleed, leave it at 2. Alright, now quick, our external editing is fantastic. I'm going to show you how this works. Let's go, File, User Preferences. It's popped up on my other window again. Okay, so let's go into System, and no, it's not System, it's File, isn't it? Let's go, it's one of these. Where is it? Image Editor. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to set Photoshop up as my external editor because I don't know where my I don't even know where Program Files is. There it is, Program Files. No, I don't know where GIMP is stored off the top of my head. So let's go Adobe CS6. I've just got this fantastic program, and it should be in here somewhere. Photoshop.exe, accept. Alright, let's close that. Alright, now what we've got here is we have the resolution. Resolution size, you might want to set that up a little bit higher, maybe like 1024, 1024, and a quick edit will open up a snapshot effectively. We'll scroll up to about this, and we go quick edit. It will open up Photoshop. Alright, it's just opening up on my other window, by the way. It'll pop over in a second. Yes. Minimize that. Don't need that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a little load thingy, so you can load brush images. Doesn't work that well, from my experience. Yeah. I think it might work, but yeah, I couldn't really get it working that well. I prefer to just open them. So yeah, it opens up one of these, and it actually saves a little file, and we can come in. I'm losing my voice here. God. We can come in with a brush. We can go make some detailed edit in Photoshop, because let's face it, editing a 2D image is considerably faster than editing a 3D image. Alright, so we do that. We go Control S, we save it, minimize Photoshop, and what we do is we hit apply. Before you hit apply, make sure you've got these set, any stencils, any whatever things, because if you want it to actually pass all the way through your mesh, uncheck occlude. So yeah, let's apply that. Boom. Oh, look at that. Fantastic. Now you will notice that everything's gone so much darker. Now this here is something that is quite cool. Well, it's not really cool. Sort of just a mistake that I've made. Let's close that. What we need to do is we need to create a new layer. We need to draw on this layer. Something like that, yeah. Let's go. Hi. Alright. Uncheck that other layer. Actually, we can delete that other layer. And we save that one. So now when we apply it, it just applies that stuff. Cool. And yeah, I think you can actually apply it multiple times. No, maybe you can't. Alright, so yeah, that is that. Is there anything I haven't covered? I think I've covered everything. Yeah, I hope I've covered everything. If I haven't covered something, guys, let me know in the comments section. Yeah, I've been playing with this for a while. It's actually really cool. I admit I still use Mari. That's mainly because I have Mari. Most people don't have Mari. But yeah, let's start doing some actual texturing where it's loading our brush, loading an actual Photoshop brush to use. See what I got. So many brushes to choose from. Try this one. Cool. That'll do. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having a dark brown brush, or dark reddy brown. And this is going to be on my grunge layer, not my brush layer. Because if we paint on the brush layer, you notice we get things like this, and yeah, it's not quite what we want. By the way, you can actually paint your own brushes and use them while still in Blender. Alright, is this going to work? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, what you need to do now is come in and just start painting this up. Just throwing a bit of grunge around in these side areas. I'm going to skim over this quite quickly because yeah, there's a lot of texture here. So yeah, I expect you to go into a bit more detail than I am if you're following along and whatever, or on your own projects. I suppose you don't actually, might not actually have this correct. I'll probably upload it, but I don't know whether I'll actually upload it in a starter form and a finished form. Alright. I'm just going to turn that specular off. It's kind of getting annoying and in the way. And if you really want to get this, like, so you can see everything right, just check shadeless. Shadeless never fails to show you everything in a straight colour value. I say colour, not diffuse, because colour and diffuse aren't the same, by the way. Hence why they are different words. Alright. So just coming down on these creases here. Make sure we get in those creases. Anywhere in a crease is actually going to be quite a lot darker. Partly because of shadows, but also because of all the grunge and dirt that builds up over time. Turn off fixed texture. I probably should have turned that off to begin with. There we go, that's working so much nicer now. Alright. So yeah, by the way, let me know if there's any other tutorials that you want. I know I haven't written many tutorials for a while because I've been pretty busy at course. But yeah, I'm always open to suggestions. I've recently uploaded the part 5 of the nature series, which was on trees. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. The main point that I covered in that is actually just the leaf shader, getting a 3-tone leaf shader to work procedurally, with only about 5 or 6 nodes, I think. It's really cool stuff. I love using cycles. It's a really nice rendering engine. But even nicer when I get my GTX 260s come, which are not exactly arriving yet. Ooh, let's move that. Move this red. Alright, brush. Yeah. Kind of forgot the colour settings for the brushes, by the way. They're actually set over here. If you want to change the colour, you got to use the colour here, ramp and whatnot. Also allows you to change the contrast and whatever. Yeah, stuff like that. Show alpha, by the way, allows you to have it show up over there. And yeah, just painting. I actually quite enjoy painting. I used to hate it a while ago. I used to absolutely despise texture painting. That's why you notice that a lot of my old renders were all procedural, just node based, mainly because I didn't like painting. I wasn't very good at it and I didn't like it, so I didn't actually try it. Then I got a graphics tablet and now it's all considerably easier. Believe it or not, I actually get paid to paint things in Blender now. Alright, so just darkening up these creases a little bit. There will be a bit of darkness coming out through these. Oh yeah, another tip for you. If you can get it to look really nice in shadeless view, chances are it's going to look even better in your normal view, in your diffuse rendered, well, viewport view. Non-shadeless, I suppose, would be the word. So yeah, bear that in mind. If you get it to look really nice like this, then spot on, good on you. And just switch it back over to non-shadeless and add in a bit more. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off my occlude. That way I can just paint straight through things, and I'm just going to add in a bit of just colour variation through it. Let's turn that off. Alright, let's maybe soften this up a bit. Soften, it's effectively just a blur, by the way. Cool, so we're almost done here. And yeah, switch it off shadeless now. Let's see how that looks. Alright, that is looking quite nice. Now this is where you'd go in, you'd add in a few extra details, add in any, what's called, maybe blood splatters, or maybe, I'm thinking too much in games, I make too much game content. What would you add in on normal crate? Stains and stuff, just general whatnot. You come in here, you can switch it over to white and just take out a little of it, a little of the stuff. And yes, it's stuff like that. I mean, that's looking quite nice. One little last touch I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to do those little nails and stuff. So before that, let's go save that. And what we're going to do is go to texture settings, add in a new one, move it up above the brush just so it's all organised. Call this nails. You can add your ones down here, by the way. Alright, let's go image or movie. nails. Make that white, of course. And click OK. Alright, now nails, we're going to use the nails one. And this will be image or UV, UV I mean. Set that to default, set that to multiply, and we're also going to give it a normal value. Alright, so just making that black, or almost black actually, with a bit of a red tone in it. Maybe somewhere around there. We're actually going to come in and we're going to, if it'll let us, paint. Yep, so we're going to paint in some stuff. So I'm going to turn off the strength and the radius for our pressure sensitivity, just so we get that nice circular thing. Over in the curve, set that to a block, straight one, so that way we can just set up just some quick blotches like that. Let's just bring that in piece down a little. Yeah, so something like this. Maybe a bit bigger. Alright. Almost done here. Alright, and with that there in, we can come in and turn our specularity back up, maybe like a point 2, maybe, there we go. And over on that nails, it's just maybe see which way we want to take that. Best quality. Doesn't look like it's going to do anything. Kind of get that occasionally. Oh well. Alright, so let's give that like a -1 say, so cut away at it. And yeah, let's jump back into object mode. And that is our box. So unhide everything, and we actually get a fully textured box. This is the point where you'd go in and you'd start editing up things. By the way, you press U, object and data, to make it a single user, because they're instance at the moment. And yeah, hopefully you guys learnt things from this. Hopefully I wasn't too fast or confusing. Yeah, it's great. If you want to know how to convert your ABR Photoshop files to PNG images, the best program for that is ABRmate from texturemate.com. It's a free program, fantastic, works perfectly. I will leave a link in the description under this video on my website. My website again is metallics.co.nz, and you can also find me on facebook.com/cgtutorials. That's all for today. My name is Alex Tilford, and you have a nice day.